Alright, well, today we're going to pick up with Chapter 7, talking about duplicating views, creating callouts, changing visibility graphics, as well as how to make sections and elevations. So this part of the book really gives us a good sense on how to set up a basic file to show different components of a building that we've designed so that it can accurately be built. So the first practice is just setting up duplicate views and callouts for a typical guest room, showing only the furniture, because sometimes you may only want to see the furniture, or maybe showing only the restrooms. So we're going to go ahead and open up Modern Hotel Views. And I'm going to follow along the chapter, but give you all the screen so that you can see and kind of narrate along. Okay, so the first thing we do is open up our Modern Hotel Views from our practice files. And we're going to go to the project browser and we're going to right click on Floor Plans, Floor 1, and Duplicate View, Duplicate with Detailing. That basically means we'll copy everything about the view plus the details within it. That way you get all of the settings associated with it. Now, views are really important because that's the only way anybody will know about your drawings and what you've designed. So when we create drawing sheets later on in the book, you'll see why views become really important. So first thing we do is go to our project browser over to Floor Plan 1, and we're going to right click and say Duplicate with Detailing. Now what we've done is made a copy, and we need to rename this copy because you don't want to name your files Floor 1 Copy 1. You want to rename it with what matters. So we're going to call this one Floor 1 with Pool. We're going to have that changed. Good. Now we're going to open up that original view. Well, two ways we can do that. Double click and go to it. And remember your WT function. If you hit WT, you'll get all of your views shown on one. Well, I'm going to go ahead and go back to just my main by WT again. Now I get my plan and my 3D view. So now we want to show crop region in the view control bar. That's down here. So this little light bulb with the crop symbol shows the box around, this box here. And what we're going to do is zoom out until we get all of those extents shown. These are the extents, right? When you click on this box, it highlights. And we're going to drag these circles so that the main building displays. Because we don't want to show the pool on this view. We're just going to show our main components. Now notice as I drag in the crop view, it brings in my grids, brings in my elevations, but you don't want to totally lose your elevations. Okay, now we've closed in our main view, and if you notice, as I've pushed through here, I've got an elevation back here. I can drag this and bring it forward. We can always bring these things back into view. They just click and drag to bring them back in. So let's grab, and you'll see later what the difference between clicking on the arrow gives you a line, and clicking on the box gives you a checkbox. So let's pull this back like we should. So we want to make this look exactly like the books. Alright, now we've got a clean cropped building, and we're going to hide crop region because now we've shown as much of that view as we'd really like to. So we're going to turn back off the light bulb to hide the cropped region, and we're going to go ahead and duplicate Floor Plan 2 with detailing. This time, no detailing. We're just going to duplicate. Alright, now that we've duplicated it, we got to rename it right off the bat. We're going to rename this Typical Guest Room Plan. We're going to turn this crop region on because we want to kind of shape up our view. It's kind of messy. And we're going to crop down to just get the outside of the building shown again. So I'm going to drag all these down. Leave a little bit of room here. Bring this in close. And now one other thing we'll turn on is if you look at your properties bar over here of the view, there's extents, right? Your extents tells you how far things will show up, right? It's how much do I want to crop out of the view? Well, if you scroll down and you turn on your annotation crop, you're going to see a dashed line show up. When I click on this outside window, I get a dashed line. This dashed line is annotation crop. Annotation crop means anything you type or arrows or symbols will still show up out here. So if I were to click and move this symbol out here, notice it still shows up outside of the crop region. But if I take this annotation crop in, watch everything disappear. So this is just like an extra border, sort of like when you think about your sheet and title block when we did hand drawings. This is an area where you can type and write things. Okay, so we're going to turn back off our crop region. And we're going to select one of the grid lines, and we're going to right click on that grid line and say hide in view category. This gets rid of all the grid lines. And you can do two things to zoom extent. If you double click your middle wheel, it'll bring you in, or you can hit ZF, which brings you in, or even ZE. Right, I can zoom way out here, type ZE, and I get this. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to continue working in the guest floor plan view where we're at, and we're going to click call out. So we're going to go to view, and we're going to pick call out, and we're going to create a call out around this guest room here next to the staircase. And by doing that, I click once and I drag a bubble around the room. The bubble should go all the way around the walls, and then you click to place it. We're going to move, if you click these handles move around. So we want to move these handles out of the way because we don't want our drawing to be messy. Okay. Now I can double click on the call out view bubble and it opens only what's been highlighted here. So if I double click here, it lets me change the call out profile. Or if I double click on this little bubble right there, see the key is this little bubble will take you to the blown up room. Now when you blow up the room, you've still got an underlay showing. So we have to go over here to our properties bar and turn off the underlay. The underlay is shown, let's see if I can bring this over a little more so you guys can see it. There we go. The underlay is shown here. We've got that one off. Now notice all the windows I have open. If I hit WT, I can get rid of some of these views again, especially that first floor and maybe the third floor. So now I've got two views open, my typical guest room floor plan and my call out of a typical guest room. So we're going to call this view, since we haven't changed it yet, we're going to rename this typical guest room dash furniture plan. Now, the next thing we're going to do is open floor plan 1. And we're going to create callouts for the stairs and restrooms and name them as shown. So you guys will see here. I can close out my other views now that I've got my floor plan 1. I'm going to create a callout around the stair. Something like that. Let me get this thing out of the way. Oop. If I zoom in down here, I can actually drag that handle and move this out of the way. Here we go. Create one there. Clean it up a little bit. Make another call out around these restrooms. Move that guy out of the way there. and then make another call out around the stair. And these are typical call outs. You usually want to show how the stairs are enlarged, how the restrooms are enlarged, so that when they build them, those are the most important things they get right. And now we're going to go to these views that we've made call outs of. All right, we're going to double click on this view, and that pulls this view up, and we're going to call this floor 1 dash stair 1. Because stairs are usually numbered, restrooms are usually numbered as well. Then we're going to go to our, close that one back out, go to our next bubble. We're going to call this one restrooms. This is floor 1 dash restrooms. And we're going to go back to our main view and double click this bubble for the north stair or the stair 2, and we're going to call this one floor 1 stair 2. Alright, now we've got all our callouts labeled. We're going to go to our typical guest room dimension plan view. Let's see if we can get that shown. Okay, so what I've done here is I made a copy of my typical guest room so that I can make one of them a dimension plan view. So I'm going to rename my copy typical guest room dimension plan. Because you're usually going to have a furniture, a dimension, and some different types of plans for each one. Let me say OK. Now in this view, what we want to do is we want to hit VV or VG. When you hit those two, you'll get visibility graphics or filters. We can also go over here to view, and you can hit or click visibility graphics here. But I just hit VV or VG. Now what we want to do is we want to clear the check boxes for filters. Right? This is a basic filter list that sorts out electrical from architecture, from contractors and different trades. So we're going to go to this box and check off structure, mechanical, electrical, and but we want to clear everything except architecture. So that's the first thing. Then we're going to come in here and turn off casework, furniture, and furniture systems. Casework, furniture, furniture systems. And then we're going to scroll down to plumbing fixtures and turn those off. Once we do that, we're going to say OK. Then we're going to come over here to the furniture plan view, right? If we close these back out, we're going to double click on our furniture plan. And we're going to hit VV again or VG. And below the table, so down here we're going to hit all. We're going to half tone all of these things. And then we'll say none, because we've turned all the categories on. And now in the half-tone column, we're going to clear casework, furniture, systems, because basically we're graying everything out except the furniture. So we want everything half-tone except casework, furniture, furniture systems, and plumbing fixtures. So notice how everything becomes gray, so that if we start to show plumbing or furniture, it'll update accordingly. So you should have just an existing simple layout like this. At this point, I would do a save as, and I would save the project to your My Documents folder. Not the class files, but the My Documents folder. Okay, so we made it right on time. That practice should take roughly 15 minutes. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to open up and we're going to work on adding foundations and footings. Those are really important in a building. So we're going to open up Modern Hotel Foundations. And what we're going to be adding is we're going to be putting a footing or foundation, which is, if you're looking at this drawing, these walls down here, this lower piece is a footing. This part right here that goes underground, this is a foundation wall. And we'll talk some about that. Notice this door is at ground level, so everything below here is below ground. So if you're looking on this building right now, this is impossible how this building sits. Every building has to have something that goes into the ground. It has to have feet. So these columns aren't enough. We need some walls to go around it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open the floor plan's top of footing view. So if we scroll into our project browser, we'll see top of footing. We're going to double click on that, and I'm going to hit WT. This is a good habit you might get into so that you get a sense of what you're looking at in 3D versus 2D. Now this view is what we're working in. We're going to set the underlay to floor 1 in this view because our foundation walls have to sit on top of or underneath the existing walls. So now we can see all of our foundations. The next thing we want to do is we want to change the view range, because if you remember, our floor plans typically have a 4-foot view range, but we really want to increase this. So in the properties bar for the view, we're going to scroll down to view range. View range tells me where I'm cutting through. So we're going to, in the primary range, set the top to level above basement. We're going to change the cut plane, or with an offset of 7/6, the cut plane to 3/6. You can hit 3space6 if you don't want to type in the units, and bottom to unlimited. Set the view level depth to unlimited. That's crucial, because otherwise you'll get error messages in this situation a lot, and we'll say OK. Now we didn't see a change yet, but you will in a little while. Now we're going to build a wall. We're going to change this wall to basic 12-inch masonry. And we're going to change the location Now notice I got an error message here that says top of the wall is lower than the base of the wall. That's because the settings on the wall are already incorrect. So we're going to reset those constraints. Go back to our generic 12-inch masonry and notice I've got an option again. So what that did was reset our constraints, because every time you place a wall, it remembers what your constraints were, how tall it was. So we want to change the location line to the core center line. We want to make the base constraint top of footing, base offset 0, top constraint level floor 1, and go 0, 0. Now, this is where you want to pay attention, because we're going to choose pick line, and you're going to select the core of the exterior walls. That means the midpoint of each exterior and curtain wall around the stairs and elevators. That's stairs and elevators, because all of those components need foundations. So here's how we're going to connect those across. I'm going to double click to make my view larger. And notice, as I zoom in, you want to zoom in, otherwise it might not pick up on the midpoint. So you zoom in, you click to place, and notice I'm going to follow around my elevators and my stairs. So if you remember, there was an elevator here. I'll come back and clean this up. Just keep drawing. We'll come back and clean those up. Notice if I zoom in far enough, I can click on a curve. Now I've got all my walls, but I got all this extra scrap. So we're going to clean up, and this is good practice, using the trim extend tool. So the first thing you always click to trim extend is what are you trimming to or extending to. So I'm going to cut here, cut this portion out. We'll try it again. And it's quick so you can test it out. was bad, so you just undo. And it's a quick enough task that you can quickly clean up Now this wall over here in this corner gets kind of messy, so we're going to delete out. Actually, we're going to take that wall and we can drag the handles down to here. And we can pull this wall off of the edge. And I would even go so far as to clean up some of these corners here. Okay. Now we've made all of our basic layouts, but we don't want to show this upper floor on the footing plan. So we want to turn off the underlay. I'm going to hit WT again and we'll look at the difference in the building. Now in the building we've added the basement floor, right? These hidden foundation walls. Now the next thing we're going to do is add footings. So we're going to go back to wall again. And we're going to change the wall to be generic 24-inch concrete because the footing or the base of the wall inside the ground has to be wider. It's like wearing shoes on your feet. It has to be heavy and balance the building. So we're going to do 24-inch concrete, core center line, top of footing, base offset -1, -1 foot 6 inches, top of footing 0, and we're going to say apply. Now what we've done is we're going to create another wall around the edge of all these walls we just made. So we're going to pick line again. We're going to hover down and make the center point. All the walls we made. Now watch as I come around the corner in the 3D view. Notice I'm clicking the center every time. Alright, now we've made those walls, and that's your footing and elevation. So that's an amazing little trick that we can add to take a look at the foundation walls, right? When you click on these walls here, you'll see we can see what we just added, the base of the building underground to make it stand up. So of course you'll save your file and you'll place it in your My Documents in your correct folder. Alright, we have one more practice for Chapter 7, and that's about elevations and views. Elevations and sections are one of the most important critical components in architecture so that we can see inside of buildings. So we're going to be actually looking at how to cut through portions of this hotel, look at sections and elevations of the hotel, make interior elevations, so on and so forth. And these practices are here. And we'll begin that one now. We're going to open up Modern Hotel Elevations.rvt or Revit. It's going to upgrade. So the first thing now, instead of looking at plans and the flat views of the top, right, if we're looking down on the building, we're going to be looking at all the sides and the insides of the building. So we're going to open floor plans, floor 1 with pool. You can see the pool and everything. And we're going to show crop region, right, this little light bulb for the crop button down here. And what we want to do is place an elevation marker, right? We're going to create an elevation outside of the pool building, up here, right? And that's important because sometimes, especially when you're just showing the building, we need to show elevations of other things, like the pool would be really important. So we go to our view bar because elevations are views. When we click elevation, we want to make sure over here that it's the right type of elevation because we can have interior or building elevations. Since this is the outside of the building, we want to do building elevation. Notice as I hover the mouse, the elevation marker changes depending what I'm looking at or what I'm close to. Right? If I'm close to one building, it looks at the other, or vice versa. In this case, we want to place the elevation marker right about here. Once you place one, you can keep placing more, so we just want to hit escape to close out that command. Now, we want to change, every time you place an elevation, you have extents, right? We can look at the entire building, or we can look at just what we were interested in. So the same way you have a crop view, right, when we drag the handles to create a crop view, we can select an elevation marker and drag those over to the area we're specifically looking at. So in this case, we're going to drag the elevation marker to the front of the pool, because the pool is what matters. And we're going to change the depth of the elevation, right? If you're standing looking at something, this box right here says, how far am I looking? Well, we're going to look right to the back of the elevation, right close to the building. So now we're going to place our elevation, we're going to double click on our elevation, and we should have all of this giant box, right? But we don't need to see floor 8 all the way to the parapet, so we need to make sure our crop view is turned on, drag our crop down to floor 3, because we don't need all that information. And we're going to hide the grids and levels, so we're going to right click, hide in view, category, right click, right here, hide in view, category. We also want to take and bring this up so we don't see underground, because an elevation is everything you see above ground, just like that. And if you don't know what you're looking at right now, we can change it to consistent colors, and you can see the glass of the pool room, or you can change this back to shaded, or vice versa. Now, in the project browser over here, we want to rename the elevation that we just made, elevation 1A. We're going to rename that pool-north, because it's associated with the cardinal direction. And we're going to say OK. We're going to go back to the floor plan with the pool view, so I can hit WT, and then I can close out my elevation, hit WT again, and I'll get all of these views, right? So we're going to floor plan 1 with pool, so I'm just hitting WT. We're going to add elevation markers to the other sides of the pool houses, doing the same resizing and cropping as we did on the first one. So we're going to go elevation, place it here, we're going to place one here, and we're also going to place one here. Now we hit escape to close out, and what we want to do is we want to kind of shape these, move these boxes to fit the pool house. Right, you might even move the symbol back a little bit. You got to click the symbol some to activate it, but once you click it, we don't want anything overlapped. So I'm just cropping, cleaning up the views, just like my first view, checking by clicking the pointers. And the other thing you want to make sure is the extents, right? We want to make sure we're looking through the entire pool house, so that we get all of that information. We're going to open all these elevations, rename them, because if this is north, this is going to be west, east, south. So I'm going to go ahead and name the south one. We're going to double click on it. We're going to crop it all the way down to floor 3 like we did the previous ones. Crop it up to floor 1. Right click, hide, category, hide, category. Okay, that's our, scroll down, this is our south view. Pool south, and we've named that one. Now we're going to go over here to our east view. We're going to double click, do the same thing. Drag this down to floor 3, up to floor 1, hide category, and we've made our next portion. So we're going to rename this one East. And we're going to come back to our West and finish that one. And then we'll have done our primary pool elevations. And we're going to rename this one West. Okay. And it's nice to make these symmetrical so your view is kind of laid out equally. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create restroom interior elevation. So we're going to go back to our floor plan 1, our floor plan restrooms. So if you look back up here, we've got floor 1 restrooms. This is the enlarged floor plan we made last view. So in here, we're going to make an interior elevation. So we're going to click elevation, but we're going to change this from a building to an interior, because just when you lay out your restrooms, it's important what you have. Now, when you lay an interior elevation, if you have 4 walls, you can make one elevation have 4 views. So we can click to place a view. We want to hit escape or cancel. And then when you click on the circle around the box, we can check each one of these and it'll label the elevation specifically. So we checked the boxes, we're placing an elevation in each direction, and now we're going to name these accordingly. Men's restroom, north, south, east, west. And we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. Women's restroom, north, south, east, west. So what we do here, we're going to say this top one's the men's restroom. Let's go ahead and open that elevation. We scroll down here to our project browser. Notice we have a new tab for interior elevations. And which one did we just open? We opened the west, right? To the left is the west. So we're going to rename 1D men's restroom west. And what I'll do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this using Control-C, and then my next view that I go to, I can paste that in. So I'm going to north here. We're going to rename this men's restroom. Say OK. And we're going to go to east. We're going to rename this the one that's highlighted. East. Save that. And we're going to go to our south one. And we're going to rename our south one men's restroom south. Okay, now I've created all my men's restrooms, so I'm going to do the same thing for the women's restroom. Notice it even labels them on the drawing for me. If it's in the way, please move it out of the way. Let's see if we can. And we may have to live with that until we can change the annotations for the time being. Alright, so now we're going to duplicate, make another interior elevation, place it in the middle of the women's restroom, hit escape, check boxes to turn on elevations, and then we're going to go back and do the same thing, women's south restroom. And I'm going to take this one, I'm going to copy it with Control-C. Go south, women's restroom west. Do women's restroom north. Just renaming. This is all about organization, because if you don't have this, oops, see I entered the wrong name in, it'll give you an error message. So if you don't have these names right, you won't know the difference between north, south, or which restroom is which. And that becomes important. And I guess we did, all that's left is east. So we can say east, and it'll put in all of our labels. Alright. We've made elevations, interior and exterior, so we can actually take and go start talking about sections now. With sections, we're going to go ahead and open floor plan floor 1 view. And we're going to create building sections, right? Building sections are made through a building. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit select all the elements around the restrooms, use a selection window around the restrooms. I'm going to select all this stuff right here, all around the restrooms. Then I'm going to click filter and turn off everything except elevations and views. Say OK. And then we're going to hide and view elements because this is getting kind of messy down here. So notice everything comes off there. The next thing we want to do is we're going to click Do Not Crop View. So we get everything back again. Then we're going to move the elevation markers closer to this building. So we kind of want to bring in all of our markers here. You click these by dragging them in. You click once and then drag in. So I click once to activate it, then drag in. You want to move the arrow box, not necessarily the line of viewing. So now we're going to go to section, and we're going to make sure this is a building section. We're going to draw a building section. Start by clicking off the building, and then draw a straight section all the way across here. Once you've made it, we're going to rename this to East-West section, because this is west, that's east. So we'll scroll down to our project browser, open up our sections, rename that East. Okay. And then we're going to do a north-south one. The north-south one is going to go through those main entry doors. So we're going to select section again. We're going to start down here. Where you first click is where the bubble shows up. And then we'll place that section. We're going to rename that north-south section. Alright. Now the next thing we're going to do, since we've got our basic building sections, right, if you were to double click on this, you'll see the whole cutout through the building. Alright, this is a good thing because you used to have to do all this by yourself, drawing everything from scratch. And this program just cuts it automatically for you. So we're going to go to floor plan 2. I'm going to double click that window so it's enlarged. And we're going to go ahead and hide some grids in here. Hide by element. And we also need to get rid of these elevation markers. They're a mess. We only need those on the enlarged plan. So let's filter that. Elevations, views, door tags, walls. And say hide elements. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to hide some grids because we're about to do a lot of little wall sections. Little wall sections are details that are going to show us how the walls are made. So we're going to create section, and then we're going to change this from building section to wall section. The tags are different. And we're going to draw 4 main sections around the building through the different wall types. So the first one is going to be this door here, right? Our next one, we're going to go back and we're going to add another wall section. We're going to draw one through here. Draw another wall section through the window here. And then we're also going to draw a wall section through the glass. Now notice I'm kind of drawing wall sections through all of the different systems, right? The wall systems. We have glass, we have window, we've got masonry, and we've got doors. So we're cutting through all those. Now what we're going to do is I want you to hover over each tag and you're going to double click on it and take a look at it. Now if you don't see much, remember you can always change qualities of the view to see what you're looking at. So notice now we're looking at a cut through with a curtain wall. Hit WT, get all my walls back. Let's close this floor 1. I'm just hitting WT to keep organizing. Let's open up this section, right? And let's turn on realistic. All right, notice when you hit realistic and we zoom in, we're actually going to see these are the windows like the cutouts through the building. We can even see the roof up here. Go back to WT, and we can click this one. This is a cutout through the stair. You can change this to shaded, and you'll see all the blocks right for each floor. You'll even see those foundation walls we added and footings. Once you have that, you want to do your save as, project, my documents, and save appropriately.